Hey everyone, North Central here. Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to go ahead and continue on with the knot tying series. Today we're going to talk about the square knot, or the reef knot, or sometimes known as the Hercules knot. Now this is probably one of my least favorite knots, and the reason for it is because although it's fairly easy to tie, it is also fairly easy to mistie it. If you mistie it, a lot of times you end up coming up with what's known as a granny knot. And a granny knot is just a horrible knot. So the square knot is used for lashing and binding things with a lash, okay? The Boy Scouts use it in their, whenever they're making things and they're using lashings to tie different pieces of wood and things together to make chairs or stools or tables or whatever it is that they're lashing. They use it as a secure point, and it's a pretty good knot for that. However, the square knot, typically a lot of people use it to bind two pieces of separate rope together, tie the two ends together to make a longer piece of rope, right? And it is a very, very bad knot for that because it has a tendency to come undone, and there's actually been people killed by it in the past. But we're going to go ahead and go over the square knot. It is a Boy Scout requirement for advancement, and it's a pretty decent knot as long as you're using it for lashing. It's not to be used with weight or anything like that. If you're going to put a lot of weight on this knot, it's not recommended that you use this knot. There are other knots that you can use, and we'll go over those knots later. Right now, I want to go over the Boy Scout knots, the square knot, and we're going to bring everything closer and get started. Alright guys, so the square knot. Pretty easy to tie. What you got to remember is right over left and left over right? That makes a correct square knot. So, and just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using two different types of cordage here. I'm going to be using a blue and I'm going to be using this orange. Now, these are two different lines, and it's not recommended that you tie two different pieces of cordage together to make them longer, of course, with this type of knot. And the reason for that is, well, I'll show you that after we tie it, okay? So, to get started, it's right. This is my right hand, this is my left. It's right over left, right? So right over left, and then it's going to come down and around, right? And then it's left, which is the blue, over right, like so. Get my fingers out of the way. Go ahead and tuck it under, and then pull it tight, and when you finish you get a knot that looks very similar to this. Now the reason that it's not recommended for you to tie two different pieces of cord together like this is because if you put a lot of weight on it, it has a tendency to slip, okay? And even if it doesn't slip, once you take the weight off, it's pretty easy to untie. All you have to do is grab the two ends and push in on itself, and you can see how easy it is to come out, okay? So this is not a good way to tie two pieces of rope together if you're going to be putting any type of weight on that type of rope. So let's go ahead and tie it again. I'm going to bring the camera even closer this time and try and keep my big fingers out of the way. Alright, so right over left, right? The blue would be my right, the orange would be my left. So right over left, right over left, and then tuck it around like so, right? And then left, which is the blue, over right, which is going to be the orange. So left over right, and then tuck it through and bring it down, and you get the square knot. Not a bad knot if you're going to be tying off a lashing or trying to bind something, like if you were tying something to a tree, okay? It's not a bad knot to do that with, but you don't want to put any type of significant weight on this because if it jingles or something like that, it can work itself free very easily. So if you use the knot properly, it's a great, great knot. If you use it improperly, well, that is what it is. So what happens if you tie this knot the wrong way? Well, let's go right over left again, tuck it under, and then let's go right over left and tuck it under again. Okay, now you've tied what's commonly called the granny knot. And the granny knot is, as you can see as I pull it, can slip right through. It's more of a slip type knot. Very, very horrible knot. You put any type of weight on this at all, and it can slip right out from underneath of you. So that's another reason why I don't particularly like the square knot, because it's very easy to mistie. But if you tie it right over left and under, and then left over right and under, you get a very, very nice square knot. See? And you can put pretty good pressure on this. I mean, it'll hold. But I definitely wouldn't stake my life to it, because even though you put a lot of pressure on this knot, all you really have to do is grab a hold of the two ends and push a little bit, and this knot comes right undone. Okay, so that was the square knot. As long as it's used properly and as long as it's tied properly, not a bad little knot. If you mistie it, horrible granny knot. And of course, if you misuse it, watch out. But all in all, not too bad of a knot. Ancient knot, Boy Scout requirement knot. So Boy Scouts, if you're watching this video, make sure you know how to tie this knot whenever you're going for advancement. I hope this video helps, and as always, if you have a comment or question, leave it down below. If you would like to see some type of knot tied, go ahead and drop a line down below and I'll see what I can do. But until next time, this is North Central. Thanks for watching.